Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 24th, 2023 regular council meeting. I'll call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Deputy Mayor Schwab sends your regrets this evening. Blackfalds Town Council acknowledges that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting ground, gathering place, and traveling route to the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries. Start with the adoption of the agenda. Administration, any changes to the agenda?
Thank you, Worship.
Council, any additions or changes? Councilor Bell.
Thank you. I'd like to add under business 7.12 MSP.
Thank you. Any other additions? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adopt the amended agenda? Councilor Coulter.
I move to adopt the amended agenda.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. We have a delegation this evening with regards to the goalie signage. We're joined by Carla and Amanda this evening. Welcome, ladies.
I'm okay to sit in. Just okay. Just want to make sure.
Hi, I'm Carla. I just wanted to inquire about the goalie sign that was on the south side of the old arena before the Eco Builder Center was built. I know people have been asking our family now about the sign for a couple of years, as it was a memorial for my brother, Cody Dennis. I copied my mom's letter sent to the town of Blackfalds 2.5 years ago, dated on July 8th, 2020. Good morning. Can this letter please be forwarded to the town administration, town council, and the recreation board? As we were excited to see the expansion of the arena, we were wondering what's going to happen to the memorial, happen to the sign in memory of Cody Dennis, the goalie with the number 1 on the south side of the multiplex. Some history on the sign for those that have moved to Blackfalds after 2004. Cody was killed at the intersection at the traffic circle, Highway 2A and 597. Cody started playing hockey here when the arena was open. The town was doing signage on the arena, I believe the fall after his death. The town contacted our family and asked if they could change the original plan of having a regular hockey player and put a goalie with the number 1 on it in memory of Cody. We were very honored to have this at the arena, especially living so close. As most of you are aware, the Cody Dennis Memorial Fund has helped enhance Blackfalds minor hockey. We've raised over $60,000. In 2010, we were honored to have CBC Hockeyville come and televise the game at our town. You can Google Hockeyville Blackfalds and see it on YouTube. The last few years, the fund also donated to DIDS. We made a $5,000 donation a few years ago, and we sponsored skill training for players of Blackfalds minor hockey. And Blackfalds minor hockey charged a fee, and then in return, Blackfalds minor hockey donated the fee, and we matched the fee to donate to DIDS. Our family would really like to keep Cody's memory going on to the arena. If anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to call me or send an email. Thanks and stay healthy, Brenda Dennis. My mom received a reply from CAO Thompson advising this would be added to the town council agenda on July 28th, 2020. If you look back on the town website, this item's never made it to the agenda. Recently, this has been brought up and still nothing about it, except for the last standing meeting with no real answers except for them looking into it further. Before the arena opened in Blackfalds, my parents were both part of the Egg Society in Blackfalds, volunteering for numerous fundraisers with the Egg Society to get the first arena in Blackfalds. The year the ice was put in was Cody's first year of hockey. Cody had been a big part of the community in the short 20 years he was alive. Cody and I both volunteered for the town of Blackfalds summer day camps every Monday to Friday for at least 2 summers. We also received Volunteer of the Month at least once. However, I do believe it was twice. Cody was always at the arena, whether it was playing with his team, helping younger teams, refereeing games, or being picked up to play for teams that didn't have goalies. If the Zamboni was on the ice, Cody was the first one to be out on the ice moving the net, so the drivers didn't have to get off the Zamboni. There was even one winter where he helped the town employees put the ice in over a weekend. We both also volunteered for the Blackfalds Public Library growing up. The day Cody passed away on June 8, 2004, The town of Blackfalds Council approved the new library, the one that was in the Civic Center. They planted a tree in memory of Cody at Tails Park. When Cody passed away, his 4 hockey coaches thought we should do a memorial game for him, and that is what we did. April 1st will be the 18th year, only missing one because of COVID. The game is a community event in a lot of people's eyes. We attract longtime residents and new residents that never knew Cody. Over the year, the game has shifted. Originally, it was Cody's old teammates against his last team we played for, the Blackfalds Beerhounds. As everybody got older, it made it a bit more challenging to get his old teammates back to play. We still have some that do come back to their hometown to play their only game of hockey a year. The rest of his team consists of previous Cody Dennis Memorial winners from the past 18 years. I thought it was kind of neat last year to have 20-ish guys all from Blackfalds with a handful of still residents come back to play for Cody. The other team now, in the first period, we have kids from minor hockey, all age levels, come to play the adult. The last 2 periods are coaches from minor hockey. If you really think about it, on the night of Cody's game, you have past and present residents ranging in the ages of 5 to 39, some driving 2+ hours to play, and most of them don't even know Cody. That must say something about Cody and this town. This past year, the game raised over $6,000. All the money raised has gone back to Blackfalds minor hockey, except for the donations to DIDS. Even without him here, even people from out of province who support local businesses, including hotels, as some stay the night because of weather, or wanting to have a few drinks and catch up with longtime friends. With the game approaching this year, I'd just like to know, is there any plans to rehang the sign or something done with his memorial? The town of Blackfalds approached our family to put the goalie sign with the number 1 on the side of the arena for a memorial for Cody instead of their original plan of having a player in Bulldogs colors. I honestly don't know who paid for the sign. We assume the town had since they approached my parents and hung the sign. The trophy case in Blackfalds, that Blackfalds minor hockey put in the lobby of the old arena, and they retired his jersey. I'm honestly tired of replying. I don't know what the town's doing with the sign. We would just like some answers, please. If you've never lost someone close to you, you might not understand the feelings that come along with things like this. This sign means something to my parents, myself, and even my kids, even though most of them never even met Cody. It obviously means something to other people asking about it. I treasure all the memories I have of my brother, with lots of those being at the Blackfalds Arena, and will continue to make sure his memory stays alive. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me.
Thank you. Council, anyone have any questions or comments? Councilor Stendy?
Just a comment. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us. I know that that isn't an easy thing to do, to get out in front of a room full of people, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would say as well, thank you for coming. I know that I think for most of us, not all of us, but at least many of us on council and even in administration are relatively new to Blackfalds, at least when you're comparing it to 18 and a half years that since Cody passed. And I will say that his name is something that I heard very early on in coming to the community. The hockey game has a big impact on the community, and I'm quite happy that that's been a success and memorialized his memory and your family's impact on the community for so many years. I think this has been something more recently that's been discussion amongst our administration. We've had some updates as a council, but certainly I could understand from your family's perspective that you're looking for some kind of direction and concrete answers. So it's obviously emotional for you and your family. So thank you for taking the time today. Councillor Stendy.
When is the next Cody Dennis Memorial game?
April 1st.
So are you hoping to have the memorial piece up by then? Is that?
That'd be nice, or
That'd be
even
nice.
be able to answer when someone asks us. Like,
I don't have an answer at this
No.
time.
no, I understand.
But I do, from speaking to administration at the last standing committee meeting, we were told that it is going to be coming forward to the next rec board meeting. So hopefully we have some answers coming out of that, or at least more understanding of what needs to be done in order for that to be hung. I would love to see it up for the memorial, but I can't make those promises.
I know Myron had mentioned that maybe I wanted to talk to the rec board. I don't know if you guys want me to come tell them. I also heard from kids that they've already asked the town if this before the arena. I just found this out today that it has been asked, like kids had a meeting with you guys or with the town back when the planning was happening, and they were all adamant that this sign be rehung, but I didn't know that until today either, that the town has been approached by them as well prior to it being removed.
So
Just any-
through the chair to administration, would it be possible to have them come and speak at the next rec board meeting?
Yep, that's okay.
Where they,
Definitely reach out. We can add you to the agenda.
Perfect.
We're preparing the agenda at the moment, so.
perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. You're welcome to stay for any portion of the council meeting. We don't have an in-camera portion, but you're also free to leave if you wish. I'm not sure, unless you're really interested in bylaws, it's up to you. But either way, thank you, Councilor Coulter.
Sorry, just a quick question. When is the next rec board meeting?
February 1st.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have no public hearing this evening. We have no business arising from the minutes. And our first business item is a request for decision. Actually, no, it's more just the director's quarterly reports for the fourth quarter of 2022.
Here. Thank you, Your Worship. Before you do have the Director's quarterly reports for the fourth quarter of last year. These reports provide an overview of department activities, updates on operational activities, and an update on capital works activities, and information and progress on projects and programs. Administration staff are here to answer any questions or to expand upon any information that is in the reports. And with that, the administration recommendation is that council accepts the director's fourth quarter reports for 2022 as information. And if, like I said, if you've got any questions, we're happy to answer.
Thank you, Council. Questions or comments? Councilor Sandy.
So on page 4 of 5, number 26 under the capital update, can you tell council a little more about this? Is it going to affect the prices that we're paying for the vehicles that we're waiting on that were previously ordered?
Thank you, Worship Council. So the vehicles are still awaiting a decision from Ford on what the impact of those costs will be. We're also exploring other options like looking at different types of vehicles and the like. We're actually just talking about that today. So maybe more information to come.
Okay.
We have 2 existing fleet vehicles that are kind of on their last legs. So we've continued to use those in replacement of these 2 vehicles. But yeah, we have kind of given a fair amount of time to wait for those deliveries, and with obvious new pricing more than likely coming, we're going to be trying to open that up again to kind of look at a different sort of option.
Okay, thank you.
Well, maybe before you leave, the President, my question would be towards you, unless anybody else has questions. It's just the next page. With regards to the asset manager, there's Area D, it just discusses that natural asset management development project. Will that involve council? Is that an opportunity for anyone outside of the planning and development department? Just wanted to get a sense of what that involves.
Yeah, so what that is, Your Worship, is basically we're going to be getting a database of trees and other natural assets, and then we'll be using that to bring forward some decisions to the AMAT committee, which is an internal administrative committee, but through the asset management programming, we'll be bringing some of those check-in points back to council. But really, this is just a small piece of the asset management program.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else with questions on the director report? Councilor Bell.
Thank you. So my question is actually for Director Kirkowicz. Abbey Center operations. On page 2, it mentions picnic tables, the sponsorship for one and potentially a second and third. I was just wondering where those picnic tables are being placed, approximately.
I will actually pass that on to Manager Simpson, who is here today.
Good evening. So we did go through with our parks foreman and Director Clark-Bush and myself when we did walk through the Abbey Center site, and we picked 7 different spots that we did put on a map and presented at rec board. So the 3 that are sponsored now, I'm just in the process of getting those. 2 of them have been ordered and are at the facilities, the ops yard, and then the 3rd one will have to be ordered. So those will be hopefully placed this spring in one of those 7 locations.
Oh, okay, so the placement still hasn't been finalized.
Well, the 7 places for the tables have been picked. It's just where those 3 are going to go. I know I'm one of the 30 people that's donating the $100, so I know where my group would like it to go. There are those 7 spots that have been picked.
Yeah. Well, then I will wait until the next report.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about Director quarterly reports? Seeing none, can I get a motion to accept? Councilor Sands?
I'll move that council accept the director's 4th quarter reports for 2022 as information.
Thank you. Any discussion or debate? All in favor? Yes, thank you. Item 7.2, request for decision in Indigenous cultural awareness training.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before you have some information about the Indigenous Cultural Awareness Training. The Indigenous Culture Awareness Training is intended to deliver cultural awareness training to build understanding when it comes to Indigenous engagement in the community. The Indigenous Cultural Awareness Training is offered in 2 separate meetings, one being an in-person workshop and one being online workshops. The in-person workshops are customizable and can be delivered up to 10 plus people over a half day or a full day. While the online training takes about 4 to 8 hours to complete, it's more affordable, accessible anywhere, and the progress is at your own pace and time. On completion, each participant can print out their own certificate in Indigenous awareness or order a framed online print. The links are in the document here. Under financial implications, so the in-person workshops can range from $5,000 at the low end up to $15,000, where the online courses are around $128 per person. We do have budget under the legislative cost center for some training if council wishes to attend. The administration is just looking for direction tonight on if this is something the council would like to partake in. So with that, I'll open up for any questions.
Councilor Smithy?
So I did have a look at both of the links that were supplied, and while the second one, the workshop, does work with municipalities, it looks to me as though it is more focused on working with municipalities that directly border Indigenous communities, which we do not. And I do believe that I have brought it up in the past, but there is a course through the U of A. It is called Indigenous Canada. It is free to take, and it is curated learnings and teachings through the Faculty of Indigenous Studies. And rather than taking an online course that we have to pay for, as a council member, I would much rather suggest to council that we take advantage of the free training, which looks to be about the equivalent of what's provided in this.
When I looked at this and I saw the costs of those in-person training, I thought I was a little surprised. Unless they're, well, even with a grant, I would think that that's a fairly expensive price tag for any workshop. The online course definitely seems like a good option as an introduction. But I know in my experience since being on council, there's a lot of opportunities, whether that's at Alberta municipalities conferences, even economic development conferences, FCM almost always have some kind of Indigenous cultural awareness seminars, and we do have relationships as a municipality with an elder that has been offered to meet with council and introduce. And I think given that there's lots of opportunities, and again, also going back to my experience, I feel like experiencing Indigenous culture is a little bit more impactful than sitting in a classroom learning about it. I think that there's free resources for people that want to understand history and a variety of things prior to doing that. I found it, for myself, the experiences were significantly more impactful than any amount of workshops and courses that I could have taken. So I on top of what Councillor Stende has suggested, I would suggest anybody that has the opportunity to take in blanket ceremonies, smudging events, things like that really open your eyes, and just simply reach out to the community. But I would not be in support of even $5,000 for an in-person seminar. I would be okay if someone wants to utilize an online course for introductions. Anyone else? Councillor Stende.
Do you need a motion to accept this for information? Perfect, done.
Any discussion or debate on the motion? All in favor? And that is unanimous, thank you. 7.3, bylaw 1276.23, the redistricting of the lot 3 block 1 plan. That long one, 102, 233, 2033.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of Council. So the Planning and Development Department is currently processing a subdivision application that pertains to the property just beside the Protective Services parcel. So what's happening here is the vacant parcel, we're subdividing a 25-meter strip off of that, and the intent is to consolidate that into the Protective Services parcel. Subdivision sketch is included in your package. Both of these parcels have different land use districts attributed to them. Lot 2, where the Protective Services building is located, is currently designated Public Facility District under the Land Use Bylaw, and the vacant lot is Highway Commercial, or C2. The amendment before Council proposes to redistrict that sliver of land being subdivided and consolidated into Lot 2 to the Public Facility District to be the same. The Council as a subdivision authority will be presented the proposed subdivision at the February 28th, 2023 meeting after a public hearing for the proposed bylaw before you this evening is closed and second and third reading is given. That will facilitate the redistricting. This proposed bylaw was presented before the Standing Committee of Council at the January 16th, 2023 meeting, where the following recommendations were carried unanimously. Councillor Stende moved that the Standing Committee of Council recommend to Council to give first reading to bylaw 1276-23, and which was carried unanimously, and Mayor Hoover moved that the Standing Committee of Council, upon giving first reading to bylaw 1276-23, recommend to Council to set a public hearing date for February 28th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. So the administrative recommendation before Council this evening is that Council give first reading to bylaw 1276-23, and secondly, that Council sets a public hearing date for February 28th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in Council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from Council? I think we're pretty clear on this at Standing Committee, so we do have 2 recommended motions if we have from members. That's Councillor Dennis.
I move that Council give first reading to bylaw 1276.23. And can I do one? Okay.
Everyone understands that motion. We're giving first reading. Any discussion or debate on the motion? All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. Second motion, Councillor Pell.
I move Council sets a public hearing date for February 28th, 2023, 7 p.m. in Council chambers.
Thank you. Discussion or debate on that motion? All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. 7.4, policy 168.23, the certificate of compliance.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. A very common requirement in land transactions is a request for a certificate of compliance. And this is done through submitting a real property report to the Planning and Development Department. And we review that to see whether or not the property has been built in conformance with the land use bylaw. There is no legislative requirement for municipalities to offer this service. So there's really no guidelines for municipal staff to follow when issuing these types of certificates. To ensure transparent and consistent processing of these requests for certificates of compliance, the department has prepared the attached certificates of compliance policy and procedures, which have been developed through researching municipal best management practices and integrating some current town practices. And it'll serve to provide guidance for staff and the public on when a property fully complies with setbacks prescribed in the current land use bylaw, or it complies with previously approved variants to setbacks. That's when we would issue a certificate of compliance. When a property has not been developed in accordance with the setbacks prescribed by the current land use bylaw, nor has it been constructed in accordance with approved plans, that's when we would issue a letter of non-compliance. And when a property has not been constructed in accordance with setbacks prescribed in the land use bylaw, but did comply with municipal regulations at the time, that's when a letter of non-conformance would be issued. So the draft policies and procedures were presented to standing committee, where there was the following recommendation was carried unanimously, that Councillor Coulter moved that the standing committee of council recommend to council to approve the certificate of compliance policy 168.23. So the administrative recommendation for council this evening is that council move to adopt policy 168.23, certificate of compliance as presented.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Bell.
Thank you. I have two. Through the chair to the manager. My first question is, I believe there's just a typo in the procedure 2.2. One copy will be retained for the town of Blackfalds records, and all other copies will be returned to the applicant agent. I'm sure I believe it's supposed to be applicant.
I'm sorry, which?
2.2 under general procedure.
Oh, yes, you're correct. That's a typo. It should be applicant.
And then my second question, if I could, I would just like to thank you for including the fee schedule in here. save us some tracking down time. And I just wanted to know, I realized that this was just updated last year, but I wanted to ensure that your department still feels that the fees that are listed in the schedule are appropriate for the amount of work.
Through the chair, yes, we feel confident these are adequate fees.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Seeing none, we do have a recommendation. A motion, Councillor Sands.
I'll move the council adopt policy 168.23, certificate of compliance as presented.
Thank you. Discussion or debate? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 7.5, bylaw 1277.23, the utility rate bylaw, Schedule B.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. So utility rate bylaw 125020, Schedule B, was approved by council on September 8th, 2020. And then the 2021 rates were updated in early 2021 to align with the 2021 budget. For 2022, council decided to maintain the 2020 rates until the water rate analysis was completed. The 2023 budget included increases and decreases to these water and sewer rates based on the completed utility rate analysis. So what we have presented tonight is the 2023 budget rate assumptions. The rate in Schedule B will affect the 3950 accounts. The amount equates to an average of 1% increase per month, or $1.72 for a family of four. Further to that, it is note that the solid waste and recycling rates will be held for commercial and residential services for this 2023 year. So last time we met, Councillor Sands moved forward, first reading of bylaw 127723, and that was carried unanimously. We're requesting council consider second and third reading tonight. And the follow-up question that was asked was, what were the actuals for treatment and maintenance for water, as well as wastewater? So those are outlined below. It's about 2.5 million for water and 1.9 million for sewer. So with that, I'll open up to any questions, and we're asking for second and third reading tonight.
Thank you. Questions? Councilor Bell.
Thank you. Through the chair, so thank you for bringing this forward again. Not that we had a choice because we haven't voted on it yet, but my question is, now that we've done our utility rate study, do we feel that these rates will be able to hold for a foreseeable amount of years? I'm talking about water rates specifically because I know that, so I'm not talking about solid waste or those sorts of things because I know those can fluctuate more.
Yeah, so through the chair to Councillor Bell, the water and wastewater rates will more than likely have small increases over the years. So with CPI, as well as some other costs for chemicals and things like that, there is kind of a general progression of 1 to 2% a year. That's only if our water and wastewater regional commissions stay at the level they're at. Then we can be confident to say that there'll be small increases. But if those regional water and wastewater rates increase substantially, or like I had indicated before, there's a number of higher costs that we see in this 2023 year, then those will be factored in. But overall, they should remain pretty steady.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Seeing none, we do have two motions to consider. Councillor Stenday.
I'll move that council give second reading to bylaw 1277.23, a bylaw to amend Schedule B of bylaw 1250.20, water and wastewater rates for 2023.
Any discussion or debate on the motion? All in favor? And that is unanimous. Thank you. And second motion, third and final reading. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. I move that council give third and final reading to bylaw 1277.23, a bylaw to amend Schedule B of bylaw 1250.20, water and wastewater rates for 2023.
Thank you. Discussion and debate. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
7.6 Aquatic Center Closure Policy 164.23.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. So in an effort to provide consistent service delivery to our community and our visiting guests, a draft of the new Aquatic Center Closure Policy has been completed. It is felt now is a beneficial time to compile existing closure parameters that already exist within our aquatic safety plan, and further develop a full, robust policy which encompasses all potential occurrences that might happen within our outdoor aquatic environment. These occurrences could potentially impact our ability to serve the public in a safe manner. The activation of the Aquatic Center Closure Policy will support the Town of Blackfalds Health and Safety Policy Statement for the Town of Blackfalds Occupational Health and Safety Manual by having clear, bless you, guidelines set out and help protect worker safety. At this time, and this was also presented at Standing Committee on January 16th, where it's passed unanimously to be brought forward to Council tonight. At this time, we are requesting that Council move to adopt the Aquatic Center Closure Policy 164.23, so the policy may be in effect for the 2023 pool season, which is scheduled to start May 19th.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Seeing none, the recommended is in front of you. Councilor Coulter.
There we go.
I move the council moves to adopt policy 164.23 aquatic center closure as presented.
Thank you. Debate or discussion on the motion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you. And then the next policy, 165.23, the Abbey Center acceptable usage.
Thank you again. So I bring before you tonight some amendments to the Abbey Center acceptable usage policy. Updating the policy to our current best practices will help align this policy and help give clear and concise direction to all the guest services booking staff while staying true to our intended purposes for that space. It is felt that with the turn of the new year, now is an opportune time to review the policy and incorporate some of our observations and feedback that we have gathered over the course of the last years of operations. Highlights of the changes that have been included but are not limited to clarification around liquor being on premises, increasing the maximum of regional, provincial, national, and/or international events from 4 to 6, deletion of the minimum of 6 of the allowable 12 events needing to be sporting events or competitions, the addition of the indoor play space, the addition of the amphitheater space, and updating the use of the outdoor aquatic center. This also was brought forward to standing committee at the January 16th meeting where it was moved unanimously to bring it forward tonight to the regular council. So at this time, we're requesting that council move to adopt the Abbey Center acceptable usage policy 165.23.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Maybe just a quick question. I'm not sure many details about it, but I was just reading recently that AGLC is looking at, or the province is looking at changing some laws to allow alcohol consumption in public areas. I'm wondering, has there been discussion about that in this reflection of this policy? Would that potentially supersede this policy? Or is that something that we would just address at the time if that law changes?
Through the chair, we did seek clarification from AGLC with a request from the market to have, the Abbey Center has always been a no alcohol center, like for any reason. And then we were approached by the market that they be allowed to have liquor on premises for the sole purpose of tasting. So we confirmed with AGLC that markets fall under a special licensing that allows them to have small amounts of wares on hand for that purpose only. They don't need a special license, or it falls under artesian markets. So that's the only indication, the only way that we would allow liquor being on premises. We have specific uses within the policy for all of our spaces, none of which include celebrations with liquor. With liquor consumption, then becomes the need for liquor license from AGLC as well as PAL insurance, party alcohol liability insurance. So can it be done? Yes, of course it can be looked at, but it adds a whole other layer to the facility and to the booking and the responsibility on us as the host facility as well as on the renter.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that the administration is looking into this. I believe that more of the changes that AGLC is looking at is for outdoor spaces, which I would imagine would impact the town's recreation facilities, parks, more in general than just the Abbey Center. But I guess until that changes, this policy is working best for, it looks like it works best for the Abbey Center itself. So thank you. Any other questions or comments about this before we consider the administrative recommendation? Seeing none, someone wish to make that, Councillor Spendy?
I'll move that council moves to adopt policy 165.23, Abbey Center acceptable usage as presented.
Thank you. Discussion, debate. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
7.8 special events permit for the SuperKids Triathlon.
Thank you, Worshipping Council. We're excited to announce that the SuperKids Triathlon will be coming back this year. So it is scheduled for July 8th, 2023 from 9 to 12. Setup for the event will start in the morning at 5 a.m. And the event will require barricades and delineators for the course and the transition area. and we'll have Blackfalds Fire and Rescue there for first aid if required. So with that, we're just looking for a motion to accept the special events permit for the SuperKids Triathlon.
Thank you. Now, I wish I would have scoured after Halloween sales to find a superhero costume. 'Cause if I remember right, I was one of the few people that didn't have any costume on for that. Any other questions or comments? No, seeing none, I have a motion to accept. Councilor Sands,
I'll move that council accept the special events permit for the SuperKids Triathlon.
thank you. Discussion or debate? All in favor? That is carried unanimously, thank you. Looking forward to it. 7.9, the electronic sign policy, 167.23.
Yeah, so we did bring this policy to the standing committee last week, and I met with the marketing and communications team just this week to go over some of the questions and comments that were brought up from the last meeting. We did include some of those in the document there before you. In the end, what we decided on was to lower the rates for the nonprofit from $20 to $10 per week, and local sports teams from 30 to 20. Just because we are worried about what Councillor Stenny had mentioned, having the influx of ads if we had it for free. And then also it does require quite a bit of staff time to even just put those ads on those on the messaging signs. So we felt that we should be compensated somewhat for that. And then I broke down the average or what it would cost for a nonprofit if we were to have 20 spots full on the sign per week. They would be displayed 617 times per day because each ad lasts 7 seconds. So that's 4,320 times per week, which works out to a quarter of a penny each time it's displayed. So pretty good bang for your buck, in my opinion. But and then we also did discuss the messaging on the Broadway sign, which I did mention is very limited in its characters and its graphics. So we really want to focus more so the town messaging, just because when you have a community group submit something, usually it's in a big long sentence or has a lot of information, which would probably span 3 or 4 slides, which for a person driving by, they might catch 1 or 2, and they won't be able to see all the information unless they're sitting there watching it. So, and just because of the capabilities, we just thought, keeping the message simple, like, town council meeting 7 o'clock. Something that's a lot easy rather than, big brothers, big sisters is having an event and really having a lot of detail in it. So that's the reason why we want to keep it as just town messaging. And overall, we just hope that we can have this for about 6 months, review the rates or review the how it's all working out, and then come back and see what you guys think, and possibly reduce or increase rates based on how things have been going. So that's our pitch. And we're just wanting to see what you guys think. So,
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councilor Bell.
Thank you. Through the chair, thanks for bringing this back with amendments. I did have just a couple of questions. Just wording wise, 3.7, which is on the very last line of page 3. In the previous version, it was listed as prohibited advertising, which I think might be a more appropriate heading for that, as there are additional items under 3.7. As well, I did notice 3.74 should also mention cannabis if we're discussing alcohol. 3.73, which states that the town may, at its discretion, at its discretion, not and, bring any proposals to council for their approval, even if they do not meet the guidelines of this policy. I would think that would make sense as the last, as 7.35 as the last one, because that would apply to all of the above. And then 3.75, discussing Bolt Transit. We no longer have a Bolt steering committee, so I don't know why we would reference that, because that board was dismantled from it was ad hoc anyhow, so it's completed now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I will just say, otherwise, the intent and everything I think is great. It's just typos or wording adjustments that could happen throughout section 3.
Thank you. In my comments, simpler, I appreciate that you're pitching this as a trial, essentially 6 months, looking at what the usage actually is, what the time that our administration, particularly our marketing and communications, is putting into something like this. So I would like to see that before we commit for long term. So thank you. So based on the suggestions that Councillor Powell made, I suppose that the motion would be to adopt amended. Suggest Councillor Powell?
Certainly, yeah, if no one else has any thoughts, I would be prepared to move that prepared to say council moves to adopt policy 167.23 electric sign as amended.
Thank you. Debate or discussion? All in favor? And that is unanimous. Seven point 10, FCSS board resignation. Board member resignation, not board.
At the December 1st, 2022 FCSS board meeting, Leslie Ruddick notified the board of her resignation from the member-at-large position. The FCSS board consists of 2 appointed council members, 1 Lacombe County member, and up to 7 members at large. With this resignation, the FCSS board will have 5 members at large and 2 vacant spots. And we're just looking for council's acceptance of the resignation.
Councillor Dennis?
I so move.
Thank you. All in favor? It's unanimous. And 7.11, rec board member resignation.
At the January 4th, 2023 Recreation, Culture and Parks Board meeting, Keith Kerr notified the board of his resignation from a member-at-large position. The Recreation, Culture and Parks Board consists of 2 appointed council members, 1 Lacombe County member, and 5 members at large. With the resignation, the Recreation, Culture and Parks Board will have 4 members at large and 1 vacant spot. So we're looking for council's acceptance of his resignation.
Thank you. Councillor Sands?
I'll move the council accept the resignation of Keith Kerr from the Recreation, Culture and Parks Board effective immediately with regrets.
Thank you. All in favor? It's unanimous. And our final business item, 7.12, MSP. Councillor Wong. Oh.
No, it's not. No, you're right. I was sorry. Thank you. I just noted, as we do have in our council calendars an MSP review, or MSP workshop, slated February 10th and 11th. I was wondering on council and administration's thoughts if we were to adjust that from an MSP workshop to an MSP review. That we could review with senior administration where we are on our pillars of goals and indicators, so that council has the latest information, which will allow us to hold our MSP workshop later in the year once we've fulfilled our staffing position.
The only suggestion that I would have then, if we were to switch it from a workshop to a review, would be that it probably won't take as long to go through. So maybe just the one evening instead of the full day the next day.
Yes, sorry, absolutely. Sorry, I was just saying we have it saved for the 10th and 11th, but yeah, whenever. I'm even fine moving the date if that works better. But I just thought instead of us having a whole brand new MSP workshop, let's have a review first and then we can look at that down the road. And I'm fine to put that back to administration, like to send it back so that administration can discuss that and go over and see if that works, but I wanted to bring it forward.
Certainly, yeah, we'll take note and we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Has there been an agenda discussed on that yet, or is that something, okay, so that's clearly something that we looked at before. So do we need a motion for that? Just
I would say to accept as information at this point. I wanted to bring it up now because we are getting fairly close to that date of February 10th.
Sure.
Okay, so the motion would be to
Or I guess to, direct to administration.
direct administration to consider
An
an
MSP.
MSP review.
Sure.
Okay, everyone understands the motion? Any discussion and debate? All in favor? That is unanimous, thank you. Let's into our business items and action correspondence. We have a verbal invitation to meet with the Wolf Creek Public School Board.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, we did get indication from the Wolf Creek Public School about a joint meeting with the school board trustees. They have proposed 2 dates, Monday the 3rd of April or the 6th of April at 5:30. So we're looking for a direction on whether those dates would work for council.
So the 6th of April.
And it would be a dinner meeting at in Pinoca.
Thank you. I will say I do have already a board meeting scheduled for the 6th, so I would prefer the 3rd. But I don't know if there are other board meetings scheduled for that already.
This is an evening.
Correct, at 5:30.
Evening. That works for me. On the 3rd. Better than the 5th as well for me.
I can make the
Councilor
third
Cody?
work.
Anyone else have concerns about February 3rd?
April.
It's April 3rd? Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, April.
Yes, everyone has concerns about February 3rd. Call me that. April 3rd. Make sure I'm looking at the right month here, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Councilor Bell?
I would like to move that council report back to Wolf Creek and say that April 3rd works best for us. And thank them for the invitation.
Really?
We enjoy our meeting with them.
What, was there a time proposed?
5:30.
5:30, okay, sorry.
Councilor Coulter?
And will there be an invitation sent out to add to our calendars?
Correct, yeah, once we get confirmation tonight, we'll send out the calendar invite.
Thank you. So actually, we can just, well, no, we have a motion that directs council to accept that April 3rd as the proposed.
Correct.
I guess I'll make that motion then, since I'm saying it right now. Any discussion or debate? Councilor Andy?
Just one, are they suggesting that we come to them in Pinoca or are we hosting here?
No, the invitation is at Pinoca and
Okay.
the supply stuff.
Okay, I was just curious, thank you.
Any other debate or discussion? All in favor? That's unanimous. Information items 9.1, Abbey Center and vandalism.
Yeah, thank you, Council Worship. We did discuss at the standing committee meeting about meeting with the school regarding the vandalism, or recent vandalism at the Abbey Center. So we did have a meeting the following day with peace officers, the school resource officer, the IRJC principal and assistant principal. We discussed, like I said, the vandalism, the disrespect happening with staff at the Abbey Center, and how it basically impacted everybody at the table that was in that meeting. Overall, the meeting was very supportive, I found. Everyone wanted to find a way or a solution to improve what was happening, and we did go over, some of the things that we've tried in the past to try and curb some of this. We've had more regular patrols during the lunch hour from our guest services staff. We've had vinyl lettering that was taken, acrylic lettering taken off and then replacing it with vinyl just to try to, minimize them stealing that. There's been other controls that we put in place that just to try and not have them loiter in that area anymore, but we're still finding that is a problem. So there was a lot of solutions that we discussed, and we discussed a lot of the logistics around implementing these solutions. Some of them may sound easy to just implement, but we don't really want to have a negative impact on our users. We don't want to penalize the good kids, let's say, because some of the bad kids who may not even have a membership are making it hard for everyone to enjoy the facility. So we are going to discuss this, I think, at Rec Board here in the next meeting. to get some of their ideas and some of their solutions as well. And then hopefully we can come back to the school with a solution that works, I think, for everybody. It's a tough thing. It's not just a simple, just have more staff be available, because it becomes costly and becomes a burden on our town to do some of the things that we're talking about as a solution. So, but we are working on it, and hopefully we can curb some of this.
Comments or questions? Councillor Stenday.
So could you maybe speak to council about what solutions been discussed with the principal? The reason I ask is because from reading this and from listening to you this evening, it seems as though everything that has been implemented thus far has been at the expense and time of town staff, including patrol officers and Abbey Center staff. So I'm curious about what the school has or will be implementing to curb the vandalism, as that was the intent of the rec board motion to have this come forward for a council discussion.
Yeah, the school was in favor, I think, of anything that we deemed as a solution. So if, for example, I know one of the things that was talked about was permission to leave the premises. They would be in favor of doing that if that is the way that we want to move forward as a group, right? So I think there's some logistics on their end that might not be an easy thing to do, but we can always discuss that further with them. And of course, like you had mentioned, there's a lot of, like we could implement, closing doors and putting on mag locks and the things that cost a lot for the town financially. And maybe adding more peace officer patrols and things like that, which also is something that would be a town cost. So I think the real solution for the school would be to limit off-site use of the Abbey Center during lunch hour. Now, that fixes lunch hour. It doesn't necessarily fix after schools, which of course the school is not responsible for. So we could still potentially have these issues until we create a solution that we think can kind of curb all the time, right? So not just the school hours, but at least with the school, they can do what they can during those hours. Outside of that, it's up to us.
Councillor Bill.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I appreciate Councillor Stenday's comments as well, which were the same comments that I had, that I appreciate that this had come from the rec board and that you'd like to take it back there. I just feel at this point it's moved beyond just Abbey Center, because it is affecting our SRO and our bylaw officers and our CMP, all of which we pay for as a town as a whole, not just particular to Abbey Center staff, etc. So I am interested in hearing that, I'm glad to hear that the school was open to the thoughts of keeping students on their campus during school hours as they had in the past. And I think another interesting point, maybe not interesting, another point to add is that, as council at the last meeting, we voted to add the public art piece, the Love Lock, to the Abbey Center. So I feel that really as a council, we need to make sure that we feel that this issue is going to be significantly better before we add in more potentially, let's say, things to play with on that site. So I just, thank you for the update. I look forward to more.
Yes, and just a comment further, there was some comments too about the addition of the high school in a couple of years, and that brings on a whole new set of challenges. So we have to be aware of that as well when we're thinking of what we're going to do going forward. I know that they did mention about having parental guardians for kids on site during any school hour, but again, that might pose it a little bit hard for some of those students that when it's a Wolf Creek PD day and then there's a Catholic school day, right? And then people don't know, and then our staff would be like, hey, there's no parental guardian here on site. So there's a bunch of other solutions that we did come up with, but I just want to make sure that you guys were aware of some of the other things we talked about there. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like this issue, so does somebody else ever have to report? Councillor Dennis?
I'm just curious, does the Collie Cut have problems with their high school? Like, would they be someone to talk to the city of Red Deer and see if Hunting Hills or Notre Dame has that kind of situation there?
Yes, they do have issues, and that was brought up as, what does the Collicut Center do? Because yeah, they have Hunting Hills and they have Notre Dame right there. And I've heard of issues in the past, but I know they have a commissioner or a security person, like a facility monitor, patrolling quite regularly, but yeah, and I don't know if Manager Simpson had contacted Collicut Center or anything like that, not like I want to throw her under the bus. But just, that was one of the things that we were gonna do, was to contact the Collicut and see what they do, right, to minimize their issues.
And just, maybe I'll just comment quickly because it feeds into what Councilor Dennis says. So another organization to contact that would be the Crime Prevention Center, because they did a septet analysis of that facility. They were involved in the design prior to building even, and my understanding is that building was originally, the Collicut Center was originally designed to face the other way. So the front entrance faced the school, so they felt like they had more control over access control. And someone in their wisdom, kind of near the point of when it went for construction, decided that doesn't aesthetically meet their needs, and they flipped it the other way. And that has a great deal to do with why there's problems, because it's access through an unmonitored entrance, so it's increased their cost quite a lot to have that. So talking to the school division, but I think talking to the Crime Prevention Center in that respect. But as I was going to mention, there's an overlap here with the leasing committee, the Youth Action Coalition as well. These things are all talking about issues with youth. And so tomorrow there is a meeting. I'm not able to attend the Youth Action Coalition. If somebody wants to attend and maybe have a little discussion about this, if it's part of that agenda tomorrow. But as well, I would suggest that when we're looking at an agenda with Wolf Creek Public School, that maybe this is something that we add to that agenda at that joint meeting, so we can maybe discuss that a little bit. Councilor Coulter.
Just a quick note, with the DAW doing their expansion, I would maybe possibly check with them to see what they're doing to limit, because that's right in the facility, right? Or very close to a lot of the DAW stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's just another suggestion somewhere else to get information from.
Thank you. Councilor Dennis?
Actually, Lacombe School too, they're pretty close to the arena and the pool there.
Yeah.
All walking distance from the high school, junior high, and the other schools.
Yeah, one of the differences with Lacombe is they're, right when you walk in the doors, that's where their office is, right? So it's pretty easy, the chairman who comes in, but yeah.
Sometimes it's these unintended consequence of decisions like access control. I mean, we thought as a community with the Abbey Center having an open part of the facility was in the interest of the community. The unintended consequences that free access control also brings in free problems, and if it has to do with youth, then we're trying to narrow down how to solve that. So it's an ongoing thing. It's not, there's no magic bullet, obviously. So thank you. I think we'll be talking about this several times over the next few years. Any other comments about Abbey Center Vandalism? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
9.2, Joint Council meeting minutes for November 14th. Any errors or omissions, Councilor Stendy?
Under the water and wastewater servicing required upgrades, I believe that it is Asplund, not Aspenlund. And then directly below that, under operational cost sharing, Reeve Shepherd's name is spelled wrong.
Thank you. Any other errors or omissions? Do we need a motion to adopt that amended? No, that's just for information anyways. Okay. 9.3, City of Lacombe highlights for January 9th. And if there's no other comments, can we get a motion to accept information items as information? Councilor Coulter.
So moved.
Any discussion or debates? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. And that brings us to roundtable discussions. Let's move from Councilor Stendy to the left.
I have no additional items, but I would like to ask that at a future date, maybe a standing committee or one of our CAO workshops, that we have a conversation about what should and shouldn't be included on our council reports. Reason being, just going through here, I did notice a few things that I've never seen added before. And I'm not certain that they fit the criteria of what should be added under the meetings and events as council representation. So I would really like if council could have a conversation about that moving forward.
Councillor Sands?
I have nothing to add to this. I'll just point out that I was away for a couple of weeks, so I did miss a couple of engagements that I apologize for. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Powell?
Thank you. Yes, I don't have anything particular to add, but I'm here for questions.
Councillor Dennis?
If anyone has any questions, and that might be mine with adding things that I attended regarding the town. I wasn't really council representing as a council, but attending activities involving town citizens.
We can have a discussion as a
Yeah.
council. And,
Yeah, you bet. I'm open to that.
Councillor Coulter?
I don't have anything to add. I just have a comment in regards to how much fun and hanging out with people, well, painting at habitats and cleaning and getting to know some of the town staff that I haven't really known before, and just comment, town staff has some rockin' music. Thank you.
Thank you. And for me, I did attend a number of things, but a few of them had to do with health professionals, attraction, retention. That committee meeting also, I was very excited to take part in a lunch meeting for a couple of new physicians that are interested in coming to Blackfalds. So it was extremely exciting to see that we were getting some movement in that direction. The Blackfalds Healthcare Professionals Attraction and Retention Committee itself has become very productive, very informative, and I appreciate that. It started a little bit slow, but the participation is getting better and better and more informative. And a spinoff from that was these doctors that we hosted the same day as the Habitat for Humanity Build, and Councillor Coulter also attended this luncheon with a couple of the physicians that were looking at the community, which I really hope it comes to fruition, because that is a massive impact to our community. So those were the things that were my highlights for this past period. So, and if there's any other questions, please direct them to me. Otherwise, that is all I have to talk about. So with that, can I get a motion to accept roundtable discussions as information, please? Councillor Sands.
So moved.
Discussion or debate? All in favor? It's unanimous. And if for anyone that, well, because Deputy Mayor Saab wasn't here, that is provided for everyone to read, and I'm sure she would be happy to answer questions. Adoption of minutes. We have minutes from the regular council meeting January 10th. Errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I get Councillor Stenday?
Just one. I believe Shane Hansen's name is spelled wrong. It is O-N, not E-N.
Thank you. With that, do you want to move to accept as amended?
So moved.
All in favor? It's unanimous. And 11.2, standing committee on January 16th. Councillor Pell.
Thank you. I did, just a housekeeping item, I did note that the names of our two delegate presenters, Linda Morell and Frank Watson, weren't actually listed and others present on the. That was the only thing that I saw. So with that, I'm prepared to move to accept as amended.
Yeah, any other additions before we consider the motion? Seeing none, any debate or discussion on that motion? All in favor? And that is unanimous. We have no notice of motion. Do we have any business through the council? None, it appears. We have no confidential items. So with that, I will adjourn at 8:10. Have a good evening.